Hello, in this video we will discuss about the myocardial ischemia and peripheral ischemia. So generally we will look at the ischemia. What is the ischemia? Ischemia means the blockage of the artery will not provide the efficient oxygen, lead to tissue hypoxia. The tissue hypoxia will lead to anaerobic respiration. So in this way, here is the blood clotting due to the thrombosis or due to the arteriosclerosis will not provide the oxygen efficiently to the tissue. So here is the descending aorta and inferior vena cava. This peripheral ischemia will lead to not efficient providing of the oxygen, mean the anaerobic respiration will begin, but the aerobic respiration will not occur, so the oxygen is not used to not produce more ATP, and in this way the cell will going to the death side. So here is, let's begin to understand the myocardial ischemia, which that's contain myocardiocite, cardiomyocytes. So in this way, here is the superior vena cava and right atrium and pulmonary artery, aorta, and this is the coronary artery and the pulmonary vein. And in this way, this is the descending aorta. So let's begin to understand the coronary artery. We are focusing on the coronary artery to understand the ischemia. So that is the myocardial ischemia. Due to here is the normal blood vessel which that flow normal blood, but it is healthy, but the blocked artery, coronary artery will not provide the efficient oxygen to the cardiomyocytes. In this way the hypoxia will occur, will lead to anaerobic respiration, but the aerobic respiration will inhibit to not produce the efficient energy. So this is the type of the blockage is the arteriosclerosis, blood clotting due to the thrombosis, arteriosclerosis, and the arteriospasm. So the hardening or the basically collapse of the arterial is known as the arteriospasm. So the region-wise type is the cardiac, bowel, brain, limb, and cutaneous. Not limbic, but limb and cutaneous. But let's begin to understand first. This is the brain ischemia, is the focal ischemia and global ischemia. Focal ischemia involves the local injury and blood clotting in brain, local obstruction in brain arteriole, while the global ischemia is the partial blockage in carotid artery and total obstruction in carotid artery. While this is the bowel ischemia, which that lead to digestive tract ischemic, and this is the perfused, and we can say and differentiate the process. So this is the coronary ischemia, is the normal coronary artery arteriosclerosis or atherosclerosis with blood clot and coronary spasm, as shown in the figure. You can understand. So in this way, the anginal pain, if the symptom and sign, the anginal pain and leg or arm color change, if the peripheral, and nausea, vomiting, loss of appetite, and pulmonary edema and tachycardia, which that is all is the sign and symptom of the myocardial ischemia or peripheral ischemia. So in this way, let's begin to understand what will be happen during the ischemia. So that is a major understanding and the gaining the concept to understand how ischemia will possible. So here is the oxygen will not provide, so the hypoxia will occur, and in this way this is the cell which that's contain DNA and the nucleus. So in this way, here is the glucose will move into the cell through GLUT4 channel. So this glucose will convert into the pyruvate due to the hypoxia will lead to anaerobic respiration will more, but it will convert into the lactic acid, remember, in the cardiomyocyte. So we are understanding the cardiomyocyte. So remember, this glucose will convert into the pyruvate in the absence of the oxygen is the hypoxia will lead to anaerobic respiration to produce pyruvate, and pyruvate will not go into the mitochondria for production more ATP through Krebs cycle as well as electron transport chain. So the lactic acid will increase, lead to decrease the pH, mean more acidic. So the ADP will convert into the ATP, and this ATP will use into the myofibril contracture will decrease due to the less ATP, and the pH will also myofibril contracture will decrease. While this proton will move out will lead to decrease the pH, will maintain the death of the cardiomyocyte, will not die due to the outflux and the sodium hydrogen exchange, and the sodium calcium exchange will lead to calcium influx, will lead to decrease the pH, will inhibit the mitochondrial permeability transition. A pore will closed, it means the mitochondria will not produce the cytochrome C, will not apoptosis or necrosis. So in this way, the acute myocardial infarction will lead to cardioprotective strategy, and the myocardial perfusion will lead to less lethal reperfusion. And in this way, the lethal reperfusion lead to necrosis and cell death. So let's begin to understand the model classification. So in this way, we can classify two types. First is the global ischemia model, which that will lead to complete ischemia and incomplete ischemia. Complete ischemia means the cardiac arrest will be occurred due to the complete blockage of the artery. So the cardiac arrest due to stop and block the blood flow, and hypoxia will lead to necrosis of the cardiomyocyte, and in this way the cell of the heart will be die, will lead to heart attack. While on the other hand, the basically is the necrosis will occur of the cardiomyocytes, and the aortic occlusion will occur. In this way, the aortic occlusion means the stop of the aorta, and the decapitation and cephalic artery occlusion, and neck tourniquet or cuff inflation. On the other hand, the next is the incomplete ischemia is the survivable and can be hemorrhage or a brain hemorrhage or other part, and hypotensions and the hypoxia ischemia, and basically lead to vessel occlusion and the less or more hypotension and the vessel occlusion. While on the other hand, the focal ischemia model can be divided into the focal ischemia and the multifocal ischemia. This focal ischemia involves the spontaneous brain infarction, and the multifocal ischemia is involved the autolog blood clot embolization, microsphere embolization, and photochemical initiated multifocal embolization. And in this way, let's begin to understand the treatment for ischemia. So the treatment of ischemia is different. So in this way, we will look at the specific. Here is the aspirin use, the drug, and the cholesterol lowering agents, and the blood thinner, and ACE inhibitors, angiotensin converting enzyme inhibitors, and the ranolazine as well as nitrates for vasodilators, and the calcium channel blocker. On the other hand, the angioplasty and open heart surgery is also involved for the complete clearance of the problem, for solving the problem due to the arteriosclerosis, to remove the plaque or bypass through a open heart surgery. So thanks for watching. In this video we have discussed about the myocardial ischemia, peripheral ischemia, and in this way we had discussed about the general overview of the ischemia. So in the cell the hypoxia will occur. So this is the model classification we had discussed also, and this is the basically the ischemia mean the decreasing of the oxygen will lead to death of the cell.